Hello and welcome to Catan World Wonders Revisited. This is a tutorial for our own add-on to Catan World Wonders, which I have already uploaded a tutorial about. If you haven't seen that, please go check that out first. I will not go over any of those rules in this video. This will only focus on the 8 wonders included in our personally made add-on, which you see on screen right now. So we played World Wonders for about a year and a half now, and we quickly realized that even though you can use the original release for the base game and you can implement it with any of the expansions, it would be fun to include wonders that are catering more specifically to the expansion. So we started kicking around that idea not long after starting to play this, and it soon developed into a complete set of 8 wonders that are catered to 3 major expansions: Seafarers, Rivers of Catan, and Explorers and Pirates. Now, that doesn't mean that you need to know all of those expansions to be able to play some of these wonders. You can mix and match and implement any or all if you know some or all of these expansions. So it's not required to know all to use this, and you can use this expansions as you see fit. I have uploaded download links or described the links where you can download the package here. Just like the original release, this is of course something you have to print out on your own, but that is not very difficult. It's just to print it out with the size that is included in the package, and you should end up with a result similar to what you see on screen right now. So we wanted to make this as similar to Scott Eaton's production as we could, and we made 8 wonders as you see here. Similar size. We've changed the color. We've color coded it to green to make it distinguishable from the original release. We've done front and back both art styles A and B, and we've kept to the same format with 4 stages and abilities and victory points as you go along. We have also included another inset to the DVD cover with background, rules, and descriptions on the 8 wonders with a little bit more hints and tips on how to play them. We've also made a cost card similar to the cost card you found in the original release with the abilities on the back. We made 1 cost card with each of the 2 art styles as well. So of course you only need 1 of these. I should say though that it is beneficial to have 2 or more of these if you play with 4 or more players, because this card gets passed around quite a lot. We also have wonder tokens for the 8 wonders included. We have made 2 wonders for the Seafarers expansion, 2 for the Rivers of Catan, and 4 for Explorers and Pirates, with a total of 8 then. So I'm going to go ahead and show you guys the game board and talk a little bit about the rules, which is a little bit more in-depth and a little bit more difficult to explain, because when you combine expansions there are a couple of overlapping rules that maybe don't go well together, so we made a couple of special cases there. And I will of course also go through each of the 8 wonders and talk about their abilities and see if I can give you some hints and tips on how to play them well. So let's go ahead and take a look at the traditional game board that we use. Alright, so here you have a normal setup that we would make in order to have all 8 wonders included. And what we've done here is we've taken a basic Explorers and Pirates scenario. I think it's Land Ho, the first scenario in the expansion. And we have a mainland on the left, and we have 2 undiscovered or partially discovered areas on the right. And we then add Seafarers and Rivers of Catan on top of this. And for Seafarers, that means we would include cities, which you normally don't have included in Explorers and Pirates. And they function just like normal cities. The only exception would be that cities on a pirate layer, as in this case, does not produce 4 gold. Normally, a settlement would produce 2 gold, and then it would be logical to assume a city to produce 4, but it doesn't. That'll just make the cities a little bit too good. Other than that, cities are like they are in the regular Seafarer and regular Catan game. And of course, cities are the prerequisites for most of the wonders, so it's important to have those included. We also have regular harbors, as you can see here, and that means trading resumes the regular 4-to-1 ratio if you want to trade to the bank. In Explorers and Pirates, it's 3-to-1 because you don't have harbors. We also have the robber, and the robber can be placed on any land tile, even on the islands. The robber does not, however, stop production of gold from the pirate layer, because gold isn't a resource, but other than that, it can be placed on any tile and steel and prevent production like normal. We also include the Seafarer pirate, and we play where you only can place this along the coastal hexes, anywhere around the mainland, because you can't put the other pirate, the one that is unique for each player, on those hexes. So the Explorers and Pirate, if you will, that goes further out to sea, but it cannot be placed near the mainland, and the Seafarer pirate is then placed around the mainland. Notice that we also include regular Seafarer boats, and they function a little bit differently from the Explorers and Pirates ships, as you see here. Those are the ones you're used to using probably for this scenario, and they're the ones that move. Normally they move 4 each turn unless you have some kind of upgrade. Now the Seafarer boats, they work exactly like they do in the Seafarer expansion, where you place them and you can move 1 per turn, and they cost the same as a regular ship, so I refer to these as boats and the larger ones as ships. But if you build any of the regular Seafarer boats here, like Orange Player has done, then they make your regular ships not consume any movement points when you move along those paths. So movement along a regular boat would be free. So let's just take an example. If this orange ship here would try to carry the spice into the Council of Catan, he would normally go 1, 2, 3, 4 and stop there. But since he has 4 ships here, he can actually go 1, 2, and then not use any movement points, drop off the spice, move back, 3, 4, all in 1 turn. So those boats make it a little bit easier to maneuver around the ocean, which is really what the focus of this scenario is. Other ships, of course, can move along those paths as well, but they use their movement points like normal. And the boats do count towards the 2 ocean vessels per path limit. Remember, you can place 2 ships next to each other at the end of the turn. You can do the same, and you count the boats as one of those 2. Notice that I've also put the rivers on the mainland. You don't put any rivers on the islands. And they function like they do in the normal Traders and Barbarian expansion. If you're not familiar with Rivers of Catan, I can highly recommend it. And the rules you can look up online. I'm not going to go over those. Keep in mind, though, that we do completely separate the river gold, as you see on the left here, from the Explorers and Pirates gold that you get when you discover and from the pirate layer. So they are not interchangeable, and you can trade in 2 trades of each of these. They are basically separate currencies, if you will. So we don't mix those up at all. We also include the gold field from the Seafarer expansion. We usually have 1 mixed in with Sun Stack and 1 with the Moon Stack. And there's a wonder that is requiring you to have a city on a gold field. So I'll talk a little bit about that when we get into the wonders. We also include 3 other smaller scenarios that is actually incorporated into our wonders as well. So if you want to take full advantage of our add-on, then you need to include those, or at least make yourself familiar with those. Of course, you can change the abilities, but we highly recommend the scenarios that we have included here. One of those is Fishermen of Catan, which you can see the fishing grounds around the main island. I would normally also include a lake hex right here, but the river was so long that I couldn't fit it. But we would put 1 or 2 lake hexes here, depending on the size of the mainland. We also include One of the wonders have incorporated frenemies, which you see here. You have favor tokens that can grant you special bonuses and favors. And if you're not familiar with that scenario, then I will upload, or I might even have it up, a small review of that mini scenario. I think it's not included in any of the official expansions, but you can grab it for a pretty low price at Amazon, I think. And we also have one wonder that incorporates helpers of Catan, which are basically 10 different individuals that you can take into your possession and use once per turn. Highly recommend this scenario as well. That usually is a fan favorite among many players and makes the game easier, especially for first-time players or those that are a little bit more inexperienced. So I will likewise do a small review of that for you guys to see. And again, that is also easy to pick up on Amazon. Okay, I think that's it. And if there's any other exceptions, then I will mention that as we go through the wonders. So let's go ahead and do that. Alright, so the first wonder we're going to take a look at is called Cliff City. And it's requiring a city on a pirate lair hex, which green player has currently over here, and he's already started this wonder. This wonder is based on the palace called Petra in Jordan. And it's funny actually, I spent a lot of hours on Photoshop trying to put these wonders together, of course to my wife's endless frustration. But I ended up having to do a lot of research on the places and the monuments that these wonders were built on, and I actually ended up learning a whole lot about these. Most of them I knew about, but I didn't know a lot of details about these wonders before I started this. So it was a very interesting process, and all of these wonders in our add-on is based on more modern day places and locations, while the original release was based on the 8 wonders of the ancient world. So they're a little bit more modernized in that respect. So this is then from the location in Jordan, and we've tried to make sort of every wonder have a theme, and that goes along with the place that you're actually building the wonder in, which is a pirate lair in this case. And we felt that Petra sort of looked like sort of a mountainous thief palace, if you will. So we're trying to keep that theme going for each of the 8 wonders here. So this is a wonder that is late game for sure. It takes a long time to be able to build a city in a pirate lair. You have to liberate it first, you have to build a settlement and then a city. And the city doesn't add anything to the value, because you don't get more gold for having a city on a pirate lair. So we needed this wonder to be good, for it to be worth it for the player to build it. And the abilities we've tried to amp up a little bit in that respect, and the first one is called Excavator. And it gives the player the ability to trade in 3 gold for 2 resources. And those can be any 2 resources, don't have to be the same. The normal trade-in, of course, is 2 gold, so you get an extra resource for 1 extra gold. But the big benefit is that you can do that twice per turn. So you can essentially trade in 6 gold here for 4 resources. So that is a first stage ability, and one of the best abilities in the game. So we wanted the first ability to sort of be something the player would go for early on. And the second ability is called Marauder, a very similar ability to Renegade in the original release, where the pirate can be used to steal resources from each boat or ship surrounding the tile. So that can be used both with the Seafarer pirate or the Explorers and Pirate version. And let's just say the green player here rolls a 7, gets to place their pirate, and places it on this tile. In this situation, the green player will be able to, if he had this ability, steal 2 resources from the orange player and 2 from the red player. So in the Renegade ability, you can maximum steal 3 resources. Here you actually have the potential of stealing up to 12, because you can potentially have 2 on each of the surrounding tiles. I don't think I've ever seen anyone steal more than 3 or 4, but that's still a lot better than the average of 2 on the Renegade. So that's another very solid ability. Also keep in mind that you have to pay for some of the upgrades here gold, and you cannot use the river gold for that. You have to keep to the Explorers and Pirate gold. Stage 3 is called Tack and Jibe, and those are 2 sailing maneuvers where you sail against the wind, and it gives the player 2 extra movement points for all ships, so that means a maximum of 6 from the original 4. A very, very powerful ability, but late game, so the sooner you can get to these abilities, the better it is. But if you get it, you are most likely going to have an added advantage to transport cargo back and forth between the islands and the mainland. And you have 5 victory points to finish this off. So a very solid wonder, but the disadvantage of getting the prerequisite might deter a few players from trying to get to this. But if it's the only remaining one, it's not a bad one to go for. But it's probably the wonder I've seen finish the least, just because it's difficult to get to the islands and get cities out there. But that's Cliff City. Wonder number 2 is the Raised Village, and this is based on Machu Picchu in Peru, and it requires a city on a spice hex, which, let's see, yes, orange player here has a city on a spice hex. Of course, this requires you to have placed a crew member on the spice hex for you to be able to build anything, and again, having a city there doesn't give you any benefits, not even having a settlement. So this is a very, very undesirable wonder to meet the prerequisite of. So we needed this almost to be even better than Cliff City. And here we start incorporating a few of the smaller scenarios. And in the stage 1 ability called Pity, you have favor tokens included. Pity basically gives you the chance, if you don't get any resources during the production roll, you pick 3 numbers between 1 and 6, you roll a die, and if the number shown is one of the numbers you picked, you get to choose, or not choose, but pick a favor token at random. And for those of you not familiar with frenemies, then I advise you to watch the video where I review that expansion. It's a small scenario, but it's highly recommended. So you have the chance to get resources, development cards, victory points, or roads, or trade advantage. So there's a lot of tokens here to get, and you basically get one every other time where you don't get a resource. There's a 50% chance of drawing a favor token here for free. And that even is included when somebody rolls a 7. It's not only on your roll, it's on any player's roll, and even when the player rolls a 7. So basically, 50% of the time where you don't get a resource, you get a favor token here. And that's a very solid ability early on. Stage 2 gives you not only 2 victory points, but it gives you Venture, which is an ability where you can use 5 fish to buy a crew member. And we've long thought about using fish in different ways than it is used in the original scenario. And this was the perfect way to do that. So 5 fish for a crew member is a good deal. It's not overpowered, but it's very useful if you are focusing on fishing grounds and lake hexes. Stage 3 is definitely the most fun ability on this wonder, Maritime Trade. It gives you the chance to transship or swap cargo among ships out on the ocean. So normally you have to be close to a harbor settlement to do that. But here you can swap any cargo, not just a spice hex, or rather a spice bag as it shows in the picture. But an example then would be green player could move this ship carrying spice 1, 2, 3, 4, swap this over to this ship, and then 1, 2, 3, drop it off all in one turn. So you can sort of create convoys with your ships and move cargo back and forth a lot more efficiently. And then you have 4 victory points for stage 4, since you had 2 for stage 2. This is a very good wonder, and despite the prerequisite being undesirable, a lot of players go for this one quickly. It's easier to be able to build on a Spice X than it is a pirate lair. All you need to do is drop off a crew member and you can build on it. And it's not a wonder that gets seized very often, because it's difficult for other players to meet the prerequisite. So you're pretty safe if you start building this to have it for the remainder of the game. Not the best wonder, but it's up there. Definitely, we've tried to make all the wonders balanced, so there isn't any 1 or 2 wonders that stand out, so to speak. But very interesting abilities and fun to play. So that is the Raised Village. Alright, so moving on here. The next wonder is Seaside Sanctuary, with a prerequisite of a city on a fish shoal hex. So that's not the lake hex or the fishing grounds. It's the fish shoal tiles that you get only with Explorers and Pirates. So Orange player has that here. This is based on the Temple of Apollo at Delphi in Greece. Especially one of the pictures here is beautiful. We found some good artwork to use here. And this is definitely the wonder that I've seen finished the least. It doesn't seem like an attractive wonder to many players. I think that's more because the abilities are a little bit tougher to understand and not all players see the benefit of having them. And let's just go through them right now. The first ability is Galleon, where you have the chance of carrying 2 fish hauls at the same time. So if you know the rules from Explorers and Pirates, there are 4 different things you can carry. You have crew members, you have spice bags, you have fish hauls, and then you have settlers. Settlers and fish hauls have a value of 2 in terms of size, while spice bags and crew members a value of 1. Essentially what this ability does is that it reduces the fish hauls to a size of 1, so you can carry 2 of them at the same time. And if you place them sideways, as I'm going to attempt to do right now, they actually do fit. It's a little bit difficult to move the ships around like that, but you can carry 2, which obviously speeds up the ability to move up on the greatest fisher tally. So you can bring back fish hauls very effectively to the Council of Catan. Because they're only valued at 1 for size, you can also carry a fish haul and a crew member like that, or a fish haul and a spice bag like that. So it just gives your ship more room, essentially. But you cannot carry a fish haul and a settler because the settler is still valued at 2. So that is a very effective ability, but probably not as good as some of the other first stage abilities in our add-on. Stage 2 is Trawler. It's a little bit more complicated to understand. It is essentially giving the player the ability to gain fish tiles. So those that would normally be produced by fishing grounds on the fish shoal hexes. And that can be obtained whenever somebody rolls for fish, which you can do during the movement phase. So if somebody, in this case, would roll a 3 when rolling for fish, then this tile here would produce 2 fish for the orange player if that player has Trawler, because the city would gather 2. If 4 would be rolled, then this tile would produce fish, and since orange player also has a settlement here, then orange player would get 1 fish tile. So I'm talking about the regular fish tiles that you get through Fisherman or Catan. So these fish tiles. So you would get to pick a random fish tile from the stock, just like you would whenever the regular fishing grounds would produce fish as well. Keep in mind that other players do not obviously get this, even if they have settlements or cities on the same fish shoal hexes as you do. It's only the player who has that ability. And then stage 3 is called Swift Winds. This gives you the opportunity to move more effectively with your ships. So you can actually use other players' boats and ships and move for free along those paths. So you don't use or consume any movement points when you move onto paths with other players or your own players, any player essentially, ships or boats. So this ship right here, let's take an example, could normally move 4. So here he would move 1, 2, would consume no movement points moving on to this path because there's another ship there, even if it's the same player ship. 3, and then same here, would not use anything. 4, or 3, and could move all the way in here, and then would use 4 when I got to this path. So you can utilize other ocean vessels of any player, even your own, to better advance at sea. That is a very powerful ability. Notice here that we've also incorporated fish in addition to gold for some of the stage costs here. So you need to be a little bit more focusing on fishing grounds in order to pay for this wonder. And then you have 5 victory points at the end. So probably in the mid-range in terms of power level, but it's a fun ability and one that I actually like to go for, because if other players are not interested in it, then it's lowering the chance of having the wonder seized. So that was Seaside Sanctuary. Okay, so the 4th and last wonder unique for the Explorers and Pirates expansion is the sculptured Grotto, where you can have a city or a harbor settlement, which is the only wonder that requires, or allows rather, a harbor settlement as a requirement on the Council of Catan hex, which is this hex. And this wonder is based on Emperor Tiberius Grata at Sperlonga, Italy, kind of a less well-known area. And you only have 2 spots on the game board that could possibly meet this prerequisite, and it's here and here. Of course, during the initial setup where you place your harbor settlement, if a player places it here and here, then you've locked off those 2. So you could potentially have a game where nobody would ever be able to build this wonder. So this is a little bit special if you see this being built. But I would recommend that if there's a good number, which there is here on this land tile, place a harbor settlement here, then you have created the chance to build this wonder and nobody else can seize it because nobody else can meet that prerequisite. And since it also requires or allows a harbor settlement, you can actually build this wonder on turn 1, which is very rare in any wonder game that we play, because we usually don't start with a city. Okay, the abilities. Stage 1, Safe Haven, which is a one-time event that happens at the time of building the stage 1, where you can move any harbor on the board that is not used to the city, or to the harbor settlement, if you're using that. So in this case, I have an 8 on Hills Hex, producing brick. I would obviously here take the 2-1 on brick harbor and move it directly over to this harbor settlement. A very, very powerful ability on stage 1, and obviously that's a harbor you will have for the rest of the game, and you'll be able to use it amply, at least in this case. So a very strong first ability. Stage 2 is Vanquish, where you get 2 victory points and you also get immunity to the pirate. So immunity to the pirate means that you don't get stolen from the Seafarer pirate or from the Explorers and Pirates one, and you do not have to pay tribute to the pirate, and you can move freely past the pirate without worrying about anything pretty much. Other players can still fight your pirate though with battle-ready ships, so it doesn't remove that ability. But anything else that has to do with the pirate, you don't have to worry about. And then stage 3, called Demotion, is probably the strangest ability that we have made. And it essentially gives you the option to, if a different player is trying to seize any of your wonders, you can demote that wonder to stage 1. So basically, if it's on stage 2 or 3, you can move it back down to 1 and prevent the player from seizing that wonder. The player obviously still loses the 3 knight cards, and somebody else can potentially seize the wonder the next turn if they also have 3 knight cards. You have to be able to demote it. So if wonder is on stage 1, you can't use demotion. It has to be on stages 2 or 3. But it gives the player a peace of mind, not having to worry about their wonders being seized. No other player in their right mind would waste 3 knight cards when they know you can just avoid or prevent the event from happening. Keep in mind though that you can, there's one wonder, the Desert Wonder in the original release. I can't remember the name of the ability, but you can basically place your robber on a tile and it prevents the abilities here. If somebody is sneaky and does that, they can steal one of your wonders because you're basically not able to use this ability. Unless you have finished the wonder, of course, then it doesn't come into play. But there is a way there. But other than that, you have completely removed the chance other people have to seize your wonders, which makes this wonder one of the best ones, I think. And then there's 4 victory points at the end, 6 total. So a very good wonder, solid, and a very early one too. But like I said, you can actually have a game situation where nobody is ever going to be able to play it. So that's the Sculptured Grotto. So the first of the 2 Seafarer wonders is the Roaming Snatchers, and I think the statues on the left here is pretty recognizable, obviously taken from the Easter Island Moai, as they're called. And this requires a city on an island. It does not require a city on a single land-tiled island like it shows here. Any island beyond the ones that you're starting on would do. And this is not the best of the wonders, and there are a couple abilities here that really aren't that useful, but they're fun, and in special cases they can be useful. The first one is mobility, and that simply gives you the chance to move up to 2 extra boats per turn. So not the ships from Explorers and Pirates, only the Seafarer boats. And as you know, you can move 1 for free, and for each of the 2 next ones you have to pay 1 resource of any kind to move a boat. So an example here would be if orange player had planned on building a settlement here, red player beat him to it, and therefore he wants to maybe move over to this island. Well, then normally he would be able to move this boat, and then that's it. But now we can pay 1 resource to move this, and then build, and even move another boat from somewhere else if he has it, and then build on this island. So it gives you versatility in terms of where you want to build your boats. The second ability is called Around the World, and that is a very fun ability, and it can yield some pretty funny situations, but maybe not that useful. It essentially means that you can move from one end of the map and around the world then to the opposite end of the map completely. So that means either going north and coming out on the south side, or going east and coming out on the west side. And that you can only do with boats, because obviously you have ocean encircling the entire map. Or you can use ships. So in the case of red player here, he would be able to, in this case, if he had Around the World, build a boat here, which technically would be equivalent to this area, and then the next turn, or maybe the same turn, build a boat here. So this boat is essentially extended on the south side here, and then discover this tile with the boats. Instead of doing that, the player could also use a ship then to move 1, 2, 3, 4, discover the same tiles. So you have an option there with either boats or ships. That can yield a very sneaky way of playing where you can sort of surprise your opponents if they're not thinking about the ability and what it can do, especially for exploration. But other than that, it's not really something that's going to win you the game. The stage 3 ability, Invasion, however, is very useful, which means that you can build a city for 3 ore and 3 grain without building a settlement first. So that basically saves you the 4 resources for a settlement, but it costs you 1 more to build the city. So you're saving 3 resources each time you get to use this. Keep in mind that you only have 4 cities in stock, and you need a city as a prerequisite for this wonder, so you'll only have 3 cities left then. So a maximum of 9 saved resources, which is good, but not among the very, very best ones. But late game, if you have 3 cities you haven't played yet, this can be very useful and a hard-hitting ability that hopefully can win you the game as well. Then you have 5 victory points, of course, to end this. And pretty easy requirements. 3 of the resources here are of any type to finish this wonder off. So that's the roaming statues. The second of the Seafarer wonders is the Shining Palace, based on the Taj Mahal in India, of course, and a city on a gold field is here the prerequisite. So you have an option of that here. Now, like I said, we incorporate gold fields even in Explorers and Pirates. You can just exchange however many tiles you want for the gold field. And this is obviously a highly desirable prerequisite to meet, and nobody wants to forego a city on a gold field. So we wanted to deliberately tone down the abilities and not make it as good. So we included only 5 victory points and 2 abilities in total. And the first ability is called Revise, where the player has the chance to, whenever any player rolls a 7, you can have them re-roll once. And that can prevent you from having to throw away half your cards if you sit with more than 7, or if you don't get resources from a 7 roll when somebody else rolls it, you can have them re-roll and obviously have a higher chance of getting resources. And it's a very powerful ability, even though it might not be that significant, because you can essentially decide whether other players are going to get resources or not. So an ability and a wonder that is surprisingly popular among our gaming group and has led to a lot of fun gameplay situations. Stage 2 is just 2 victory points, and Stage 3, which only requires 5 resources of any type, is Better Bargain. And that's where we get back to the Helpers of Catan. It's the only ability that includes helpers. And essentially it means that whenever you use a helper, normally you have the chance of exchanging it with one from the stock. Instead you can take and exchange it with any helper that any other player has. So you can simply pick from any of the 10 existing helpers wherever it is. The player that you take it from then potentially will then have to choose another one from the stock, and they can choose the one that you had. So this is another ability that sort of messes with other players' plans, and that's sort of the theme of this wonder. Then you have 3 victory points to finish this wonder off. So actually a very good wonder. We didn't think it was going to be that good and that popular, but it seemingly is. So that's the Shining Palace. Okay, so now we get into the 2 Rivers of Catan wonders, the last 2 remaining. The first one of those is called the Lost Ruins, based on Chichen Itza in Mexico. And this was, interestingly, the first wonder we ever made, and the first one we tested, I think, where you need a city on a swamp hex, which I have 2 of here. We usually include 2 or 3 swamp hexes whenever we play with rivers. And that'll come into play. The amount of those will be important in a little bit. The first ability is called Panning, and it gives you 1 extra gold every time you build something on or around a river. So you know that every time you build a settlement, boat, road, you get 1 gold, well now you get 2, and a bridge will now yield you 4 gold. So very useful ability. Getting extra gold is good for being the richest or wealthiest settler, and for also trading in gold for resources. Notice that you need some of the river gold here to upgrade some of the stages, and you need a whole 10 gold to finish this wonder. 2 victory points on stage 2, and then stage 3 is a fun one called Gold Rush. There it's a one-time event where you need to put random numbers on all visible swamp hexes. So in this case 2. And we determine that simply by putting one of each number in a hat, picking at random. So it can be very good, it can be very bad. So a little bit of chance there on whether it's a good ability or not. But essentially, when those numbers are put on there, the player who owns the wonder has the chance to own, or to earn rather, gold every time those numbers roll. So a settlement will earn 1 gold, cities will earn 2, and you can obviously build multiple cities and build on multiple swamp spots. So keep in mind that that isn't available to other players. Even though there are numbers on the swamps, it's only available to the person who owns the wonder. So other players can't sort of get in the way and try to steal some of the gold. So that's the Lost Ruins. Alright, the 10th and final wonder is Temple of Tranquility, based on Angkor Wat in, I think it's in Cambodia, if I remember correctly, where you have a city on, or adjacent rather, to a bridge, which you can see right here. So this is one of the few wonders that requires a city not on a special tile or hex, but next to a certain structure, in this case a bridge. And this is one of the more popular wonders, surprisingly, because I think that at least one of the abilities is not really that useful, but you'll see what I mean in a minute. First stage ability requires 5 gold, by the way. A lot of people think this is just 1 gold, but it's 5. And the ability is called Bribery, and here you can pay 1 gold before you roll the dice or after to remove the robber from one of your tiles. This doesn't work for the pirate, only for the robber. So that's useful, but certainly not game-changing. But a lot of people like to have that ability, not have to waste resources, but use 1 river gold to get rid of the robber. Stage 2 is called Translocation, and that gives you the chance to, once per turn, move a boat or a road from anywhere on the map, if it's unconnected and at the end of a shipping or a road, to a path that is legal, where you would normally be able to build it around a river. So basically, I could move a road or this boat, for example, to this spot right here, and I would be able to earn gold as if I just built that boat there. So I would be able to get a gold actually from that. You can move it from an area around one river, like this boat for example, to this spot. Obviously you wouldn't earn gold in that case because you would have to pay a gold to move it from this spot. And if you move a road to a river crossing, you have to pay 1 brick to upgrade it to a bridge. But that is a highly useful ability because you will gain 2 extra gold for that, or even 3 gold if you move it from an area that's not on a river to the river then. And this does not count, if you move a boat, doesn't count towards your 1 move per round limit, so you can still move another boat as well, which you always can. Obviously you can't move roads normally. So that gives you quick access to gold around the river and expansion if you need that. Stage 3 is Tax Break. That is the powerhouse for this wonder. It basically reduces the cost of trading in gold for resources in half. So now you can trade in 1 gold for 1 resource. You can still only do it twice per turn though, so it doesn't increase the amount of resources you can get per turn, but it reduces the cost. And that is the ability that most people want to start this wonder to get. It is very useful if you get it early in the game to have that for the rest of of the game overall. And keep in mind though that if you have the other river wonder and have Gold Rush and keep earning gold from river spots, you can quickly get into a situation where you can't end up using all your gold, because you only can use 2 gold from tax break each turn. So you might actually have to start trading gold with other players for resources, which obviously doesn't count for the bank trade. So that is a very good ability. And 5 victory points again for stage 4. So that is the last wonder, the second of the river wonders. So that was the Temple of Tranquility. Alright, so that was Catan World Wonders Revisited. I hope you guys understood my explanations. And I have of course linked to all the downloads and everything you need in the video description. So feel free to check that out if you're interested. If you do end up playing this, and if you have any questions, message me, post in the comments. If you have any suggestions or criticism, or if you want to modify this or customize it, please feel free to do that. If you need me to send you individual PSD templates for Photoshop, let me know as well. I have not linked to those because they're a little bit bigger, but I can highly recommend using Photoshop. I had to do it from scratch from the original release, which was a little bit cumbersome, so I can't recommend that. But yeah, if you need that, let me know and I'll send it your way. Also make sure that you check out our reviews for Helpers of Catan and Frenemies, since they are incorporated into this release, and I have a few other smaller reviews of other scenarios out there as well. We are also going to make a second add-on with 8 more wonders. And we have started that. We're about halfway through it, I would say, where we are using Citizen Knights mostly. Also oil springs we are working on. We're a little bit unsure of that still. And then a couple of the scenarios from Traders and Barbarians we are also looking at. So look for that. I have no idea when it's going to be done, but hopefully in the next year or so. We'll see. Okay, that should be it. Hope you guys enjoy this, and you guys have a good day. Bye-bye.